Today we got our Week 16 College Basketball Power 40 Rankings video, and we're here every single Monday, every single week, giving you guys these college basketball videos, breaking down all of our teams inside of our top 40. Every team moves accordingly based off of last week's, and we give some outlook towards potential seeding, potential just ceilings and floors of every team. So it's kind of what we do every Monday. Make sure you subscribe, turn on the noties if you are new. But let's go ahead and jump right in. Starting off at the bottom, working our way all the way up to number 1. And at number 40, I'll keep Auburn in here. I don't know. A lot of teams in this range lost last week, so it's really hard to get. Really from 34-ish to 40, a lot of these teams lost, and a lot of teams even above that higher lost. So it was hard for me to find a lot of teams because a lot of teams around the bubble did lose. Auburn is an interesting team to look at. They're 14-11 right now. They have the most losses of any team in the Power 40. But the problem is they're still a top 35 KenPom team. They're 33rd in KenPom. They got a top 10 offense. Todd Pettiford and Keyshawn Hall, both really good players. Now I know Keyshawn Hall, I think he was injured, but maybe he got suspended. I think he was injured for one game this week, and then against Vanderbilt or something like that, and then he got suspended for. I'm not even sure. No, he played against Vanderbilt. I'm pretty sure he got suspended for their game against Arkansas. I don't know. It's weird what's going on with Auburn, but yeah, 11 losses. It's not like they have a super. There's some winnable games along the road, but if they get close to 13, 14 losses, which I think they very well could, especially they're going to have to go, they have 6 games left in the regular season. They're probably going to have to go 4-2, and then they probably lose again in the SEC tournament. So even if they go 4-2 in this stretch, which is going to be tough to do, I think it's possible, but 4-2 in these last 6 games, a loss in the SEC tournament, that's going to put them at 14 losses. That is a lot of losses to get into the tournament. I think they might be able to just because they have the number 1 ranked strength of schedule right now, but man, that is going to be tough. Their remaining games are at Mississippi State and Kentucky at home. If they can pick up that win against Kentucky at home, then I think there's a chance they could finish 5-1 because they also, after that, at Oklahoma, home against Ole Miss, home against LSU, and then at Alabama to close. I think they could win that game against Kentucky this Saturday at home. The fact they get that at home is huge, but they're not going to have any room to slip up along the way. So they're in a really tough spot right now. They're actually in danger of missing the tournament. Same thing with Georgia. The SEC has a lot of bubble teams this year. Georgia is really skidding right now. They've lost, I think, 5 of their last 6 games. They've been struggling to get it done. This past week, really, really bad stuff. They're moving down quite a bit. 20-point home loss to Florida, and then a 16-point loss to Oklahoma. Oklahoma is not a great team. Oklahoma had a 9-game losing streak in SEC play. You do not want to be losing to Oklahoma. Now, I know Oklahoma did also just beat Vanderbilt, so Oklahoma's kind of getting a little bit better, it looks like. But, yeah, you can't have that. Georgia ranks 43rd in KenPom right now. Top 35 offense, top 65 defense. Numbers-wise, they were much higher earlier in the season. They did start out a lot better, though. I don't know. I don't know if exposed is the right word, but they are kind of. They're 5-7 in SEC play. Since SEC play has started, they have been struggling, and you can really tell. 5-7 in SEC play. That means they were 12-1 in the non-conference. So maybe getting a little bit exposed here for Georgia. I still really like Jeremiah Wilkinson. I think he's a really good player, 17 points a game. I think the fact they play so fast is going to be fun, and they're going to be a tough. I'd assume Georgia gets in the tournament, but maybe not if they keep skidding. I don't know. They would be in right now, as of right now. Texas A&M also going to move down 6 spots. They have also been skidding right now. They've lost 4 in a row. Granted, it was against some pretty tough teams. At Alabama, home against Florida, home against Missouri, and at Vanderbilt this past week, those last 2. The Missouri game you probably should have won, at home against Missouri. Missouri's a bubble team. That was a really big win for Missouri, but if you're A&M, you probably do have to win that game. Closing out, it's not the toughest schedule ever. They got Ole Miss and at Oklahoma this week. They should win both those games next. The week after that, at Arkansas, home against Texas, and then the last week of the season, Kentucky and LSU. They could probably go 4-2 in that stretch, I'd assume. If they can win 4 of those last 6, they probably will be fine. They're 17-8 right now. I will say, Buckyball, they were first in the SEC for a little bit. Now they're 7-5 in SEC play, but there was a time where they were like, what was it, 6-1, 7-1, like at top of the SEC standings. Now they're sitting at 8th, tied for 7th with Missouri and Texas. All 3 of those teams are 7-5 in conference, so that's 7, 8, and 9. So Texas A&M, pretty far fall, but that just goes to show how closely packed this SEC is this year. Like, nobody really is at the top, except for Florida, I guess you could say at this point. But every other team is very close together. Texas A&M, top 40 in offense, top 50 in defense, pretty well-rounded team. I mean, Bucky McMillan's got his guys playing pretty hard. It's just, losing 4 in a row, they're going to have to continue to drop. Missouri, I mentioned, got the huge win at Texas A&M. That is a huge win for their resume. But then they lost home against Texas. Now, that was a big win for Texas because Texas is also a bubble team. But Missouri at 17-8, they have a huge week this week. Home against Vanderbilt on Wednesday. That is a game that they would really like to win. And then Saturday at Arkansas, that's going to be a tough one. Missouri actually plays a pretty tough schedule to close. They also have Tennessee. They have Arkansas again. 2 road games as well, Mississippi State and Oklahoma. So Missouri already on the bubble, already in a tough spot, playing a tough schedule to close. We'll see if they can get into the tournament. I mean, the SEC is projected, I think, at 11 teams in the tournament right now. I'd assume all of these bubble teams don't get in because there's one more that we'll talk about in a second. I'd assume at least 1 or 2 of them miss, so the SEC probably going to get 9 or 10 teams in. Missouri could be that team that does end up missing. They're 54th in KenPom, so they're actually the lowest of all these teams we've talked about so far in KenPom. I mean, 97th in defense, that's not great, and then 53rd in offense as well. If you're going to be that bad on defense, you got to make up for it on offense, and outside of the top 50, you don't love that. Number 36 is going to be Indiana. Now, Indiana has been interesting this year. They've been all around these rankings. I don't think they've ever been top 25, but I think they've been close. I mean, this past week, they beat Oregon at home, taking care of business there, but then losing by 20 on the road to Illinois. Illinois is a really good team on the road. I wasn't expecting them to go in there and win that game, but they only put up 51 points. It was a little bit of a rough performance. But the week prior to that, they beat Wisconsin. That was a really big win for them. So, losing on the road to Illinois, I'm not going to fault them too much. Like I said, a lot of these other teams lost. They're 36 in my rankings. They're 36 in KenPom. Top 40 offense, top 50 defense, 17-9 overall. I think Indiana's a pretty good team. You got guys like Tucker DeVries, Lamar Wilkerson averaging 21 points a game. I feel like pretty quietly as well. Nobody's really talking about him. I think Indiana's a solid team. They're probably going to get like an 8 or a 9 seed in the tournament. They could maybe win a game. I don't know if they can get to the Sweet 16, but they could probably win a game. Friday they go to Mackey Arena to play Purdue. They beat Purdue earlier this season in Bloomington. Will they be able to sweep them? I'd assume not, but we'll see. That's always a fun game. Indiana-Purdue, big rivalry there. Number 35 is going to be Texas. Now, Texas, all of a sudden, this is the first time they've been ranked for me, I believe, this whole year. And they've been really flying under my radar because I did not realize this. They are 16-9 right now. The reason they got this bump, they played one game. It was at Missouri, and they won by 17 points, winning 85-68. Missouri coming off a win over A&M. So I was thinking, after Missouri beat A&M, I was like, all right, I'm going to probably have to rank Missouri next week. And then Texas went on the road into Missouri and blew them out. So now I felt like I had to rank Texas as well. Maybe I shouldn't have moved Missouri up 4, because they went 1-1. Like, Missouri got blown out to Texas last week, but the problem is, like, A&M lost, Georgia lost, Indiana lost, Auburn lost, and Missouri beat A&M. Also, A&M, Auburn both lost twice. I think Georgia lost twice too. So Missouri only lost once. I guess that's my justification there. But Texas moving up 6 for me. I did not realize this. This is the sixth ranked offense in KenPom. They're 30th. Overall in KenPom. Now, 92nd in defense isn't great, but 30th overall in KenPom. That's ahead of teams like NC State, who have really good computer numbers, Clemson, who's 20-6, Wisconsin, who just had a phenomenal week. just behind, literally just barely behind teams like Kentucky, UNC, St. Mary's. Like, Texas is really good analytically, and I did not realize this. Like I said, been flying under my radar a lot. They have a center averaging 15 points a game. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name. I'm not sure how to do it, but they also got a guy, Dalen Swain, I believe is how you say his name, almost 18 points a game. They have 4 of their 5 top scorers are all guards. You need guard play to do good in March. Texas could be a team to watch for. They could be a little bit sneaky. I'd keep my eye on Texas. This week they play home against LSU and at Georgia. That's a big game on Saturday at Georgia. 2 bubble teams. We'll see what happens there. Number 34 is going to be NC State for me. They had a really long stretch where they were winning a lot of games. Now, I worry if that was just because of the schedule. We'll see on Tuesday when they play UNC. NC State's favored by 7.5 in this one. We'll talk about UNC, but they're obviously without Caleb Wilson. Henry Visar didn't play their past game, so we'll see what happens there. NC State has a huge chance to pick up a home win in the rivalry game as well. I think NC State could win that game, but this past week they're moving down 4 because they got blown out against Louisville. They lost by 40 points. It was bad, and then they came out Saturday and had a home game against Miami and lost that one as well. I was expecting them to bounce back. They lost that game. Now, they're still very highly regarded in KenPom, 31st overall. Top 25 offense, top 50 defense. Pretty solid there, but NC State, they're an interesting team to me. I can't seem to figure it out, but they do have 5 guys averaging over 10 points a game, 4 guys averaging over 13 points a game. That's pretty good. Darian Williams, obviously, their best player. He's been amazing, but Copeland has been really good for them. Trey Holloman's been really good for them. Paul McNeil. So they have some guards as well. It's a pretty solid NC State team, but they do have to drop down. They went 0-2 this past week. That is a little bit tough there. Number 33 is going to be Iowa. I've been pretty vocal about Iowa. I can't seem to like this team. I don't know. I've tried. I just can't really get on board. Like, I've said it before. I'll say it again. Like, this Iowa team, I just don't know what the ceiling is. I feel like I know what the floor is. They probably can. I mean, they can win a game in the tournament. Could they win 2? I mean, I don't know if I can even say that at this point. Like, they're probably getting, like, they've been a 6 seed, maybe 7 seed for a while. They're probably now in, like, that 7 seed, 8 seed range. They're going to get a tough first round game, and then they're probably going to have to play a 1 or a 2 seed in the second round. I don't know if I love their odds in that game, and I've said this before. I just don't think they can beat a team that's better than them. We've seen they haven't done it all year, and there's only about 6 games left in the regular season for most of these teams. Like, we're getting to the end, and Iowa has still yet to do it. Against Purdue on Saturday, home game for the Hawkeyes. They were only 1.5 point underdogs, and they lost by 21 points. I was sitting there, I saw that spread, I was like, Purdue's gonna crush that, and lo and behold, Purdue wins by 21 points. Like, and then earlier in the week, Iowa lost on the road to Maryland. Maryland's one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the Big Ten. Like, that is a bad loss. Maryland is 10-15 overall, 3-11 in the Big Ten. Bottom 4 team in the Big Ten. This was a really rough week for Iowa, so they're moving down 6 spots. Now they have a huge week this week. Home game against Nebraska on Tuesday. They're actually favored in that one. Again, I don't think they win that game. They have the opportunity. Maybe they can go on the road Sunday against Wisconsin, but Wisconsin's getting hot right now. I don't know if I'd bet on Iowa to win either of these games. Now, analytically, they're still 25th in KenPom, 25th in offense, 37th in defense. But I'm telling you, they rely so much offensively on Bennett Sturtz, and I do love Ben McCollum. I think he's a great coach. I think Bennett Sturtz is a great player as well. He's had some pretty ridiculous performances himself this season, but they rely a lot on him offensively. There's not much else there. They're one of the slowest teams in the country, 350th in pace. Like, I just don't know. I don't know what the ceiling is for this Iowa team. I've said it before. I'll say it again. And I feel like I'm getting proven right, but they literally just haven't. They genuinely just haven't beat anyone that is better than them at this point. They don't really have that win that I'm looking for. Now, they don't really lose. And now, I've said this before. They don't really lose to teams that are worse than them. except for the Minnesota game and now the Maryland game this past week. So, like I said, I don't know if they'll get upset. Like, they probably can win their first round game, but I don't think they go that far in the tournament. Number 32 for me is going to be St. Mary's, actually, moving up 6 spots. They kind of just got the benefit that they didn't lose. The West Coast Conference is in a pretty interesting spot right now because St. Mary's, while they continue to take care of business, they continue to win. St. Mary's should be pretty safely into the tournament at this point. They're 23-4. They're 29th overall in KenPom. Their defensive numbers have been going up as of recently. They're now a top 25 defense in KenPom, 52nd in offense, but top 30 KenPom team overall. That is pretty good stuff. With St. Mary's, they're 12-2 in conference. Santa Clara is actually still second in the conference standings. It's going to be tough for the West Coast Conference to get 3 teams into the tournament, but I think there still is life for Santa Clara. They were in my Power 40 last week. They lost to Gonzaga. That was a huge game for them Saturday night. Home game against Gonzaga. They did lose, but Santa Clara does have the opportunity coming up. They play St. Mary's not this week, but next week on the road. Santa Clara maybe still has some life. They're probably going to need to beat St. Mary's again, and then maybe make a run in the West Coast Conference. Maybe they don't have to beat St. Mary's. The problem is if they lose to St. Mary's, they will be, assuming they win all their other games. Santa Clara, they have 3 games left, and they have to play at San Francisco. That could be a tough one as well. Santa Clara, assuming they win their other 2 games, though, San Francisco, Oregon State, they would be finishing their regular season 24-7 if they lose to St. Mary's, which it is on the road, so I'd assume St. Mary's would be favored to win that game. So Santa Clara, 24-7 in this scenario. They would probably need to... They might need to win the West Coast Conference tournament. I'm not going to lie. They might need to win it. I think they could. I think Santa Clara's a really good team. I think they're capable, but that's just going to be tough. I don't know. St. Mary's and Gonzaga's in for sure. St. Mary's is probably pretty safely in. Santa Clara, though, I'm not sure. I'm not trying to make this about Santa Clara, but I'm just saying. St. Mary's is a really good team. What I was trying to get at, they're pretty safely into the tournament right now, in my opinion. I wouldn't be too worried if I was a St. Mary's fan. Miami is going to come in at number 31. Miami's been sitting at 37, 38, 39, 40 for the past 2 months, and then I dropped them out of the rankings last week, and then they go out and have the biggest week they've had all season. They picked up a 75-66 win over UNC on Tuesday. Mind you, Caleb Wilson still playing in this one. This was before he ultimately, broke his hand. Henry Vizar was playing in this one. This was a full-strength UNC team. Miami went out there, won by 9 points, and then turned around Saturday, went on the road to NC State, won that game 77-76. Pretty good stuff from Miami. That was probably their best week of the whole season. They're a top 50 offense and a top 35 defense, 37th overall in KenPom. Miami, huge week for their tournament sakes because they are one of those bubble teams. But at 25 with those 2 wins they just picked up, I think Miami should be in a pretty good spot. This week they have a pretty big week as well. Home against Virginia Tech, who is 17-9. Virginia Tech's a pretty good team. They just beat Clemson. And then at Virginia Saturday. I think if you're Miami, if you split this week, I'd feel pretty good in all honesty. So Miami, huge week last week. They're moving up 10 because of it. Number 30 is going to be Utah State. I'll continue to say it. I think Utah State's pretty clearly the best team in the Mountain West. I've been saying this all year. 12-2 in the conference, 22-3 overall. Utah State is very quietly having a phenomenal season. Nobody's talking about them. They're 24th in KenPom, top 20 offense, top 40 defense. Really good stuff. I think those numbers are, usually if you're looking for a lower seeded team to make a run, you want to have top 20 in either offense or defense and then top 40 in the other. Now, what I like to do, that's when I'm looking for lower seeded teams to make runs, teams that I'm picking to win it all. Obviously, I would like top 20 at bare minimum in both offense and defense, but if you're a lower seeded team, which I think Utah State will probably end up being a 6, 7, 8 seed, they have the strengths to do it. I'll tell you that, and they have pretty good guard play as well. 2 guards averaging over 16 points a game. MJ Collins Jr. and Mason Falsev. He's really good. Both these guys are really good. Utah State is just a really good team. They're the best team in the Mountain West. They, a few weeks back beat New Mexico and San Diego State back to back, and those are the other like two really good teams in the Mountain West. For those who have not been tapped into Mountain West ball this year, Utah State this next week plays Boise State and Nevada on the road. Nevada on the road is actually going to be a tough one. Nevada is probably that next best team in the Mountain West besides the San Diego State, New Mexico. Nevada's probably that fourth best team in the Mountain West. So going on the road, that's going to be a tough game for them Saturday night. We'll see how they look, though. I'd expect them to win. Like I said, I think Utah State, they actually have a pretty tough schedule to close out. They play at Nevada Saturday night. Next week they have to play at San Diego State. They also play Grand Canyon, who's pretty good. And then they also play New Mexico again. Like, Utah State's got a tough remaining schedule, but I'm excited to see what they do. I'll definitely be watching some of these tough games when they do happen. Villanova's going to stay put where they're at 29. Villanova seems pretty safely into the tournament as long as there's not a huge collapse, but they're 20-5. Pretty clearly the best team pretty clearly the third best team in the Big East. They've kind of separated themselves there. You got UConn at the top of the conference at 14-1 in conference play. St. John's at 13-1. Villanova at 11-3, and then that next best team is Seton Hall at 8-7, a whole 3.5 games back of Villanova. Villanova should feel pretty good about where they're at. Like I said, 20-5. They're 26 in KenPom, top 35 in offense and defense. Pretty well-rounded squad here. They should be just fine. Number 28 is going to be, sorry about that, it's going to be Tennessee moving down 2. Now, I actually didn't want to move them down 2. I know you guys just saw who I had at 27. That's kind of why I did move them down 2. Kentucky's beat Tennessee twice this season, both very close games, but I felt like I just had to respect that. And also, Kentucky literally did just beat Tennessee. I think Tennessee's a good team. Jacoby Gillespie, Nate Ament has come alive here. He has been absolutely ridiculous. Tennessee is a top 20 KenPom team, almost a top 15 defense, 36th in offense. Pretty solid team, 18-7. On Saturday, they go on the road to Vanderbilt. That's kind of a rivalry game. That's going to be a great one, great test for them. They also play Oklahoma at home this Wednesday. That should be a win. I didn't want to move them down, too, because they went 2-0 this past week, but I just felt like, I don't know. I felt like there was two teams behind them that I felt deserved to be moved ahead of them, and then also I felt like I had to keep Kentucky ahead of them, and Kentucky will be our next team, 27, ranked 27, moving down 2 spots. This past week they lost at Florida, 92-83. Honestly, that's not too bad. Losing on the road to Florida. Florida's playing amazing right now by 9 points. Florida was in control of that for most of the game, but Kentucky never really went away. Kentucky's got 2 pretty big games this week, home against Georgia Tuesday and then at Auburn on Saturday. Those are 2 teams that are desperate for wins. Those are going to be 2 teams playing with, a bunch of urgency, so Kentucky's definitely going to have to be fully focused for that one. Kentucky, top 35 in offense and defense, really well-rounded team, 27th overall in KenPom as well. So didn't do that on purpose, but got them as the same spot KenPom does. And, yeah, I mean, Kentucky's a weird team because it feels like since Quaintance has gone down, since Jalen Lowe's gone down, they've been actually playing better. Denzel Aberdeen stepped up for them. Otega always actually stepped up for them as well. He's been pretty solid. Kentucky, I don't really know what the ceiling is with this team, but I don't know. They've been playing better as of late, I will say. I believe they're still second. No, actually, they're tied. They're in a 4-way tie for third in the SEC. Arkansas is actually in second, but they're 8-4 in the SEC. That's pretty good stuff. Number 26 is going to be Clemson, moving down 4. They lost 2 games this past week. Pretty tough stuff. 20-6 now. They lost home on Wednesday to Virginia Tech, kind of a trap game there, and then lost at Duke on Saturday by 13 points. Duke was up way more in that second half. It was a pretty compelling first half. Clemson was hanging with Duke, but once that second half started, Duke really hit the gas pedal. They were up by a lot in that game. Clemson only losing by 13. They probably should have lost by more. It was a pretty rough showing. Clemson now losing these 2 games bumped down all the way to 34th in KenPom. They're still a top 15 defense, but 73rd in offense. I don't love that. I think Clemson can still win a game, maybe 2, in this tournament, depending on the seeding. But this was a team that was probably going to get like a 5 seed. Now they might be looking at more of a 6 seed, maybe 7 seed. We'll see. Clemson, I think, no, actually, Virginia has overtaken them in the ACC standings. So Clemson is now 3rd in the ACC. They've been sitting at the top of the conference with Duke, but now going 0-2 this past week definitely hurt them. So they're moving down 4 spots. Moving into the top 25, though, and I have finally done it. Miami, Ohio is officially in my top 25. It has been maybe long overdue. And watch, now they're going to go out and lose this week. Maybe this is what they don't want to hear. But at this point, 25-0, they've got 6 games left in the regular season. I have to put them in. I'm sorry. Just seeing what they're being able to do every week and just continue to win, I have to put them in the top 25. And I've been saying this, as long as they keep winning, whenever the first week I was that put them in it was that when I put them in the top 40, whenever that first week was, I've said it since then. Yes, they haven't played anyone. Yes, I know. But they're undefeated. It's got to mean something. And as long as they keep winning, they will continue to move up. And all they've done since then is continue to win and continue to move up. I have not moved them down since then, and I will not move them down. I've kept them the same a few weeks before, but I've never moved them down. Like I said, as long as they keep winning, they'll continue to move up. And here they are in the top 25. Good for them. This has got to be the best story in the country this season. It is amazing what they've been able to do. Like I said, 6 games left in the regular season. That's not too many games left. They could very well go finish the regular season 31-0. Here's the kind of the realistic outlook, because obviously this is very exciting. For Miami, Ohio, I think they can honestly afford to lose a game here in the regular season as well as a game in their conference tournament. I don't think they have to win their conference at this point, the MAC. I don't think they have to. In all honesty, I think they've done enough at this point. So I think, like I said, I think they can afford to lose one of these last 6 games and lose again in the conference tournament. I think they can get in. Now, the problem is what if they lose 2 of these last 6? Then I think it's a little bit iffy. Maybe if they lose 2 of these last 6 and make it to the conference championship game and lose, maybe, but I think they'd have to get to the championship game at least. And even then, if they finish with 3 losses, that is getting really close to being left out. So I wouldn't like to do that. If I'm Miami, Ohio, just keep winning. Just go undefeated. I mean, maybe a loss would help them, honestly. But if you're going to lose, do it in the conference tournament. Go 32, 33-1, or whatever it will be when they finish. Just win every game. You just have to. You don't want to risk getting left out after this historic season. So, yeah, 25-0, insane stuff. What they've been able to do, they're up 3. Just had to give some love to them. Wisconsin, man, what a week from the Badgers. Nick Boyd and John Blackwell, those two, I legitimately think can get this Wisconsin team to an Elite 8 run. Those two guys are ridiculous. The way they can close games, the way they are in the clutch. Wisconsin past week lost on the road to Indiana in overtime. Come out last Tuesday, beat Illinois on the road in overtime 92-90, and then come out on Friday, come back to Madison, win 92-71 over Michigan State. That was a huge week from Wisconsin, beating 2 top 10 teams in the AP poll, 1 on the road, 1 at home, and they won one of them by 21 points. They beat Michigan State by 21 points and won at Illinois. That is the best week That is one of the best weeks anybody's had all year. That's definitely the best week any team had last week. So yeah, Wisconsin gets a huge bump. They're in the top 25. They have been playing amazing. Huge week for them again as well at Ohio State. That is a team that desperately needs a win. Ohio State does not have a quad 1 win yet. I think they've played 8 or 9 quad 1 games. Ohio State does not have one. Now would be the time if you're Ohio State to pick one up. Home in Columbus. Wisconsin actually only favored by 1.5 points, so they're saying it's going to be a really close game. I'd agree. That's going to be a tough one for Wisconsin. They also play Iowa at home on Sunday. Two pretty good teams. 2 pretty big games for Wisconsin. We'll see if they can continue this little hot streak they're in. They're also a top 20 KenPom offense, almost a top 50 defense. I think Wisconsin has a lot of upside. Now, they can very well just lose first round as well, but upside-wise, ceiling-wise, I think it's very high. Alabama's going to stay put where they're at number 23. I love LeBaron Fallon. I love some of these guards they have. I love some of these players they've had. They have. Obviously, Charles Bediako is not going to be able to play anymore, so kind of a tough loss for them. But they went 2-0 this past week over Ole Miss. Wins over Ole Miss and South Carolina. Two not great teams, but they took care of business. Won both of them by double-digit points. Wednesday, huge game in Tuscaloosa. Alabama welcomes Arkansas. That's going to be a huge game. Two top 25 teams. Can't wait to watch that one. That one's going to be, I'd assume, a pretty high-scoring game, and I can't wait to see who comes out on top there. Number 22 is going to be Louisville. Moving up 2 spots. They had a pretty impressive week, at least in my estimation. They went out, beat NC State at home on Monday, 118-77. It was a dominant performance from Louisville. Michael Brown Jr. had 45 points. Freshman class continues to be just historically good. He had 10 threes, 10 for 16 from 3. Not to mention Ryan Conwell, Louisville's other guard, 31 points. Like, that kind of got overshadowed by Michael Brown Jr. He made 10 threes and had 45 points. Ryan Conwell was 10 for 14 from the field and had 31 points. They combined for 76 points, just those two alone. Those two alone had one less point than NC State's entire team last Monday. NC State scored 77 points in the game. Ryan Conwell and Michael Brown Jr. combined for 76. Louisville, now with Michael Brown Jr. back, looks like that top 15, top 10 team that they were earlier in the season once again. They also beat Baylor on the road. Pretty big win for them. Tuesday they play at SMU. That could be a little bit of a tricky game. SMU's pretty good, but I'd expect Louisville to kind of get hot going into the tournament. Like I said, I mean, there's a reason this team was preseason top 15. They were, I think, at one point like a top 8, top 7 team in my rankings, and then they kind of got injured and kind of fell down. But I would expect Louisville to get hot to close out the season. Like, I really wouldn't be surprised if Louisville enters the tournament on like a 10-game win streak or something. They are a really good team. Right now, they're on a 5-game win streak. They got 6 games left in the regular season. They're going to have to play at UNC and at Clemson and at SMU. So it's going to be hard to do, but I think they're very capable of doing it. I think Louisville's a really good team. I think people forgot. They're still 14th in KenPom as well. Nearly a top 10 offense as well. I'm telling you, Louisville, watch out for them. Don't forget, I promise you they're going to go into the tournament on getting hot at the right time. Arkansas at 21. I still really like this Arkansas team. I've been high on them all year. I think their ceiling's out of this world. I think their floor's pretty low, but it's kind of what Arkansas was last year as well. This past week they had a blowout win at LSU and a home win by 13 points over Auburn. Like I said, they play at Alabama on Wednesday, as well as a home game against Missouri. Arkansas actually has a pretty tough schedule to close out. They got to go at Alabama and home against Missouri this week. Next week, home against A&M at Florida, and then home against Texas at Missouri to close out. They play a lot of those SEC bubble teams to close out. They also have at Alabama and at Florida. So tough final 6 games for Arkansas. We'll see what they're going to be able to do, but they're sitting at 2nd in the SEC right now. They have the 5th ranked offense in KenPom right now. I did not realize it was that high. Darius Acuff continues to impress. He had a great game. I mean, he just has great games left and right, honestly. He had 31 against Auburn, 7 for 10 from 3. Billy Richmond had 25 points against Auburn. He shot 80% from the field, made 12 of 15. I mean, I'm telling you, man, don't forget about Arkansas. They're 2nd in the SEC. They are a really good team. They have one of the highest ceilings out of anybody. BYU at 20. Tough, unfortunate what happened to BYU. We were talking about BYU because, they were losing a lot. They don't really have that big win. They were unable to get it. The problem with BYU all season has been their depth, but they've been so reliant on their top. It's been their strength at points as well, but it's been their main concern for me as to how far they can go. They rely very heavily on their top 3 players, which are AJ DeBansa, Richie Saunders, and Rob Wright, which, if you're going to rely on 3 players, those are 3 really good players, 3 of the best players in the country. AJ DeBansa is going to be a top, at worst, top 3 pick in the NBA draft. and he's leading the country in scoring. I think he's getting close to 25 points a game. But now Richie Saunders tears his ACL. Really tough loss. He was averaging 18 points a game. BYU, I mean, you can just look at it by just looking at the points per game. AJ Nabantsa, 24 points a game. Rob Wright, 18.7. Richie Saunders, 18. Their next closest guy, is Dawson Baker, who played 6 games this season, 7 points per game. Then after that, it's Kennard Davis, who actually does play a lot, but only 7.2 points a game. That is now going to be their third leading scorer. So I really don't love this for BYU's upside, and they have a brutal week at Arizona and home against Iowa State this coming week. That is really tough for BYU. And losing Richie Saunders, that is really going to hurt their ceiling. I still think BYU, I don't know if they can win some of these games anymore. I think come tournament time, if they end up getting a 7 or an 8 seed, if they are going to lose some of these games, because they're probably already at a 6 seed right now. If you get AJ Nabantsa as a 1 or 2 seed in the second round, I mean, I wouldn't want to, even without Richie Saunders, I promise you I would not want to play him. So, he can go out and drop 40, and that's going to be really hard to beat. So, I think BYU could still have some life, but honestly, this really does hurt. This was a team that I was saying had a Final Four ceiling. Now it's probably a Sweet 16 ceiling, probably at best, which does suck because they've been one of the most fun teams to watch all season. But they're still a top 10 offense. They're still 19-6, but we're gonna have to see how they do look now without Richie Saunders, because that is obviously a very big loss. Vanderbilt's gonna come in at 19, 2-0 this past week at Auburn, and a home win over A&M, both pretty handedly as well. They beat Auburn on the road by 8, and then beat A&M by 13. I think this was without Duke Miles as well, who is one of their best players. Tyler Tanner continues to look really good. Tyler Nickel looks really good. This Vanderbilt team, still a top 15 offense, still a top 20 defense. They're still 12th in KenPom, 21-4, but have lost a few games pretty recently that you haven't liked. But they went 2-0 this past week, so they're going to stay put. St. Louis is going to stay put. I looked into St. Louis this last week because I was curious what they were doing that was so special. I'm telling you right now, St. Louis has Final Four upside. From what I've seen, the highlights I watched, the things I've read, the stats I've learned, St. Louis is currently at 23rd in KenPom. They're a top 40 offense, 21st in defense. So, like I said, if you're looking for a low seed team to go on a run, you kind of want top 20 in offense or defense, and then top 40 in the other. St. Louis pretty much fits that. They're 24-1. Their only loss is to Stanford on a buzzer beater all the way back in November. They've beaten pretty solid teams this season. They've beaten VCU, who is a really good team. They've beaten Santa Clara, who just gave Gonzaga a game. They also beat Grand Canyon, who's one of the better teams in the Mountain West. They beat San Francisco, who's also pretty good in the West Coast Conference. Like I said, they won at VCU. They blew out Dayton by 30. And they've really just been blowing out everybody in the A-10. They're 12-0 in conference play, 24-1 on the season. Currently on an 18-game win streak. You look at their team. Well, their leading scorer is Robbie Avila, 12 points a game. He's their center. But then their next five leading scorers, all guards. All of them. All guards. They currently have 8 players averaging over 9.5 points a game. That just goes to show how deep of a team they are. And 6 of those 8 players are guards. So this and also they shoot 41% from 3 as a team. So you're telling me there's a team with 8 players averaging over 9.5 points a game? They have 8 guys who can legitimately play, 6 of them being guards, and they shoot over 40% from 3 as a team with only 1 loss, and are top 25 in KenPom, and are probably going to get a 4 or 5 seed? You're telling me that team can't make a Final Four? I'm telling you, St. Louis is that good. For those who didn't know all that about St. Louis, go watch some highlights. I'm telling you, this team is ridiculous. St. John's at 17, not going to move. Their fight with Providence. That Providence guy that is a terrible look. That was a really bad foul. Obviously, I think you guys know there was a big fight. 6 players got ejected from the fight. I think there were 7 in the game. It was pretty crazy. St. John's gets the win though, nonetheless. They're 20-5. They continue to roll in Big East play. They got their game not this next week, or not this upcoming week, but the week after at UConn coming up. They also play Villanova that week. So this week they play at Marquette and home against Creighton. That should be 2 wins. But after that they play UConn and Villanova. 2 pretty big tests for St. John's coming up. But this week they should be able to take care of business. 21st in KenPom, 17th in my rankings. 16 is going to be UNC. Probably had them a little bit too highly ranked after beating Duke, but that was just a really emotional big-time win for them. They come out after that, lose on the road to Miami, and then the big news, Caleb Wilson now going to be out indefinitely. He has not been ruled out for the season. I'd hope he'll be back for the tournament, but he did break his hand. I think he's getting surgery. I don't expect him to play at any point in the regular season. Maybe the ACC tournament, maybe the NCAA tournament. It's not confirmed that he will come back. It's just not confirmed that he's out for the season. I'd think he would want to play. Caleb Wilson strikes me as a guy that would want to play as much as possible. So I hope for UNC's sake he's going to be able to. I know Henry Visar's been out as well with his sickness. I think he's okay, though. Huge game for them at NC State Tuesday. I'll definitely be watching that game to see how they'll fare against a pretty solid opponent without Caleb Wilson, who is their best player. But that is really tough. He's a projected 4th overall pick in the NBA draft right now. So obviously losing a guy like that, it's really going to hurt their ceiling. I'd hope he comes back for the tournament. I think there is hope just because he hasn't been ruled out for the season, but that does really suck. And they've got a lot of tough games here to close out. They play at NC State this week and then at Syracuse the week after that, home against Louisville, home against Virginia Tech, and the week after that, home against Clemson at Duke. You're playing a lot of the good teams in the ACC in this last 6-game stretch, so we'll see how they fare, but it's a really tough loss for UNC. Virginia staying put at 15. They are 22-3. They got a big win over Ohio State by 4. Pretty solid stuff from them. They're 20th in KenPom, top 35 offense, top 20 defense. This Virginia team, they're a really good team. I'd expect them to take care of business this next week at Georgia Tech and home against Miami. Virginia continues to roll. They only have 3 losses. That's pretty crazy to me. I feel like nobody's talking about that enough. Michigan State's going to move down 6 for me. They got blown out against Wisconsin. I was not expecting that. I thought there was a chance Wisconsin could win just because it was in Madison. But losing 92-71, that was a tough loss. They're going to have chances to rebound this week. 2 home games, home against UCLA, home against Ohio State. They're going to be favored in both those games. They probably should win both those games. I still think Michigan State has a lot of upside. They're one of the best defenses in the country, top 10 defense. Jeremy Fears is maybe the best point guard in the country, and their offense is getting a lot better because of that. They're 13th overall in KenPom. They're 20-5. I think it's going to depend on Michigan State's draw, but I think they still have Final Four upside, even with losing that game. Number 13 is going to be Texas Tech, moving up 1. Huge win for them at Arizona, going into Arizona, winning that game in overtime. Texas Tech, I've been calling this team like the new age Maryland. Do you guys remember last year's Maryland team, the Crab 5? They really just played through their 5 starters, but their 5 starters were so good. Texas Tech was doing that for a lot this season. They had 5 guys, 6 guys that they would roll with. Christian Anderson and JT Toppin were really just the main 2. In all honesty, those 2 are both averaging over 19 points a game. And those 2 guys are probably both top 15, top 10 players in the country. Those 2 guys are both that good. That's why it's been working. But recently, Lawan Watts, Donovan Atwell, these guys have been stepping it up, and they've been getting a lot more minutes out of some other guys. Jalen Petty has been really good for them. Luke Bamboye, he's been really good for them. They've had a lot of guys that have stepped up and played a lot of pretty good minutes. Texas Tech is getting deeper and deeper. They're 19-6. They just beat Arizona on the road, who was undefeated last week. Now, obviously, they lost twice. They lost to Kansas as well. But Texas Tech has a top 15 offense, almost a top 25 defense. I think Texas Tech has all the upside in the world. Not to mention, doing this with a 5th hardest strength of schedule, and having two of the best players in the country, one being a big, one being a guard, telling you, man, Texas Tech has a lot of upside. So they're 13 for me. Gonzaga is going to come in at 12. Big win for them at Santa Clara. That was a really sneakily tough game. Santa Clara is a really good team. They could be a tournament team. Gonzaga won that game on the road. Wednesday they play at San Francisco. That could be one to watch. It is confirmed that Braden Huff will be out for the season. That's a huge blow for them. So much of their offense flows through him. Now they're still going to have Graham Ike, but like I said, I mean, he's their second best player. He is a huge part of this team. He's averaging almost 18 points a game. So Graham Ike is going to have to step it up. Some of these other guards, Ty and Grant Foster, these guys are going to have to step it up in Braden Huff's absence. That is a huge, huge loss for Gonzaga and their ceiling. They're still 10th in KenPom, 25-2, but man, I don't know how far they're going to be able to get without Braden Huff. That is really unfortunate stuff. Illinois moving down 2. They lost to Wisconsin in overtime. It was at home, though, so I had to bump them a little bit, but they responded with a pretty good win, 20-point win over Indiana at home. Colin Boswell did finally come back, so it's just another guy Illinois is going to have to add. I think if you had, besides Michigan, I think Illinois might still be my pick to be the second best team in the Big Ten, even if I have other Big Ten teams besides Michigan ahead of them. I think if you just had told me to pick one, I mean, watching Illinois play, watching Keaton Wagler play, this guy is incredible. He is ridiculous. He's going to be a top 10 at worst NBA pick. He's ridiculous. Illinois is 5th in KenPom. They got the number 1 offense, 28th in defense, though. That is holding them back a little bit. But, yeah, Colin Boswell coming back in. That's huge for them. Like I said, just another offensive guy to add to their already ridiculous offense. Yeah, they're going to move down, too, though. They did lose to Wisconsin, so they had to move down. But moving into our top 10, kicking it off, number 10, Nebraska, going to move down 3 for me. They lost to Purdue. It was at home, losing by 3, though, in overtime. I will say Purdue was up 20 points in this game. Nebraska had a 18-2 run with 7 minutes left, cut the lead to 6. Then Purdue got back up, and then Nebraska ended the game in the last 3 minutes on a 15-3 run or something like that. To get it to overtime. They almost won in overtime. They had a 7-0 run in overtime as well. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Nebraska with those runs, because runs are so important in March Madness. Nebraska's shown they're capable of going on multiple huge runs in the same game in the span of 10 minutes as well of game time. They responded, though, after their loss to Purdue with a big win over Northwestern. That was a team that gave Michigan some trouble earlier last week, so pretty good win for them, winning by 19 points. Good stuff from Nebraska. I think Nebraska's still a really good team. They're 11th in KenPom, top 10 defense. I still think they're a top 10 team in my opinion, so they're only going to move down 3. Kansas going to move up 1. They did get kind of blown out against Iowa State, but they beat Arizona earlier in the week. You know, if you're Kansas and you play home against Arizona and at Iowa State and you split that, I think you take that. Darren Peterson's the stuff with him continues to just it just continues to be a story, and it's hard not to talk about it. But he goes into the Iowa State game. First of all, he didn't play in the game against Arizona. He just didn't play. There was a sickness thing. I don't know. He didn't play regardless. And then he comes out against Iowa State, and he looks like he's flustered. It looked like he wasn't expecting them to guard him that hard. That's just what I'm seeing. I don't know. I've heard Kansas fans saying they're better without him. Kansas fans saying it's Melvin Council's team. When you watch them play, Melvin Council, Flory Badunga, these guys look like. Obviously, Darren Peterson probably. I mean, he might be the best player in the country. There's a reason he might go number 1 in the NBA draft, but sometimes you do watch the team play and you do wonder if they are a more cohesive group, more efficient offensively. Because defensively they're a top 10 team, but offensively 44th in efficiency. I don't know. I kind of do wonder if that would be higher if it wasn't for Darren Peterson. Now, obviously, he's their best player. Like I said, he might be the best player in the country, so you got to play him. And I think without him, I don't know if their ceiling is, as high with him. But you could argue maybe their floor is higher without Darren Peterson, just because the efficiency would be better. I don't know. I'd still want him to play, obviously, because he is that good of a player. Like, he could take this Kansas team to a Final Four. I've said that before. But yeah, getting blown out to Iowa State, it was a tough watch for Kansas. They kind of hung around for a little bit, but Iowa State came out ready to play in that one. Number 8 is going to be Purdue for me. Moving up 8 spots, I was hating on Purdue for the past 2-3 weeks. I mean, ever since that Oregon game, when they almost lost at home to Oregon. But this past week, they really proved me wrong, winning at Nebraska in overtime on Tuesday and then winning at Iowa by 21 points. Two huge wins for them. They also welcome Michigan tomorrow. Michigan favored by 1.5. That is the number 1 team in the AP poll. Top 10 game right there. That is a huge game for Purdue. They also play Indiana Friday. You know that's a huge game for them because that's their biggest rival. They lost earlier in the season, so they kind of need to win that one. Purdue's the second-ranked offense. The defense has gotten much better, all the way up to 19th. If this Purdue team's got a top 20 defense and their offense still playing that good with Braden Smith at the helm, Purdue may just be back, folks. I don't know. I was kind of getting ready to give up on Purdue, but now all of a sudden, with that win over Nebraska, with that blowout win over Iowa, if they can show me something against Michigan, I don't even need them to win. I'm going to be watching that game very closely. But if they can show me something against Michigan, I'm telling you, Purdue has a lot of upside. 21-4, 8th in KenPom, top 2 offense, top 20 defense. I'm telling you, man, huge win for them against Nebraska. Florida is going to move up 4 spots for me into my top 10, all the way up to number 7. I might just be the highest person on Florida in the world, but this is the team I'm looking at right now. They won it all last year. They returned their whole front court, and that's all everyone was talking about in the offseason. Oh, they're going to have the best front court. And they do have the best front court, and I'm just not, like, hearing about it. Like, Alex Condon, Thomas Houck, Ruben Chenulu is, like, prime, I don't even know, Andre Drummond with his offensive rebounding. I mean, he's ridiculous. He's averaging 12 rebounds a game. Thomas Houck averaging 6 rebounds a game. Alex Condon averaging 8 rebounds a game. This is the best rebounding team in the country. Xavier Lee and Boogie Flan are elevating their game. I don't know if it's because of Urban Clavzar elevating his game as well, but all of a sudden they have 3 guards averaging over 10 points a game with the best front court in the country, with Thomas Houck averaging 17.5 points a game, with Ruben Chenulu averaging nearly 12 and 12, being a insane rim protector. Florida is also 6th in KenPom. I know they're 19-6. They have a top 5 defense, almost a top 15 offense. I understand 3-point wise, they're still shooting below 30% as a team from 3. But you just watch this team play. The rebounding kind of just cancels out for that. Like, Florida is ridiculous. I think Florida. Now, there's a good chance they could end up as like a 2 seed if they win the SEC and continue to dominate. But I think it's crazy that Florida is 12th in the AP poll at 19-6, and Kansas is 8th. Like, that's crazy to me. I don't know how you can put this Florida team behind Gonzaga, even behind like Kansas. I don't understand. Now, like, Nebraska and Illinois, you could probably justify, but I'd put them ahead of them as well. I have them ahead of Purdue. Like, I think this Florida team, and maybe it's just because I had them higher last week, but I don't know. I had Kansas ranked ahead of them last week, and I jumped them. I mean, Florida continues to dominate. They are 10-2 in SEC play, and you know, if you sort the numbers on Torvik, and you just kind of go, okay, what was their shooting percentage from 3 since January 1st? Well, it's a lot higher than it was in the season, and then you do it, okay, what about the past 3 weeks? It goes up. What about the past 2 weeks? It goes up again. Like, it's still not great. It's like 32, 33%, but that is much better than what they started. I'm telling you, man, watch out for this Florida team. They have the guards are like playing good now. Xavier Lee's doing his thing. He had over 20 points, I believe, against Kentucky. He was playing amazing. This top 6, though, pretty clear to me. Iowa State's the clear number 6 team to me. I think these top 5 teams, I said this last week, I think these top 5 teams are the 5 that can win it all. Iowa State, though, is like clearly that number 6 team. They just blew out Kansas by 18 points. Now, if Iowa State goes out there tonight and beats Houston, they're favored by 2.5 in this one as well. If they go out there tonight, beat Houston, then I probably have to say Iowa State can win it all, and I have to add them to this group of 5. But Iowa State, 6th in defense, 17th in offense. Joshua Jefferson's playing like a potential National Player of the Year. I think it's probably still Cameron Boozer, but he's up there. Momcilovic shooting 51.6% from 3 still. Ridiculous. He was up by like 58 earlier this season. I expected that to go down. But being above 50% from 3 still is insane. 18 points a game from him. Tamin Lipsey's amazing. Killian Torrey, Blake Buchanan. So many guys on this team. And they defend so well. Perimeter defense. They turn you over. They play so hard. Like, Iowa State's a really good team. They're the clear number 6 for me. Number 5, I'm going to go UConn. I'm going to drop them down 1. I just felt like I had Duke behind them last week. I felt like I had to put Duke ahead just because Duke's playing a harder schedule. But because, I mean, the Big East just isn't great. And UConn had a weird week. Like, they only beat Butler by 10. They only beat Georgetown by 4. They've kind of done this at certain points in the season where they've struggled. But offensively, they are getting closer to that top 20 range, which is good. 22nd in offense, 10th in defense. Pretty solid stuff from them. Alex Caravan, Solo Ball, you know the guys. Terrace Reed, Braylon Mullins, Silas Demery. There's a lot of great players in this UConn team. They can definitely win it all. Number 4 is going to be Arizona. They went 0-2 this past week. I wouldn't panic on them. They're 23-2. Like, you saw the stretch from Arizona. The only thing I worry about, like, we talked about this. Like, Arizona, we're going to know what they are. They lost to Kansas. They lost to Texas Tech last week, and they play BYU and at Houston this week. Next week, they play at Baylor and home against Kansas, and then to close out, they play Iowa State and Colorado. Like, that is a very tough final 8-game stretch, and we knew this. And I said they're probably going to lose 2, maybe 3 games in the stretch. That is just impossible to win all those tough games back-to-back. The only thing I worry about is I was not expecting them to lose their first 2, so that is a little concerning. Copete's health, obviously also a little bit concerning. I think he's all right, but we'll see. Brandon Burries, Jaden Bradley, still really good players. Owaka's really good. Anthony De La Rosa's really good. Krivas, the center. But yeah, Copete is very important to this team, so you'd like to see him come back in. Arizona actually falls to number 3 in KenPom, but they're still top 10 in offense and defense. Top 3 in defense, they're 3rd in defense. This is still a really good Arizona team. I wouldn't be panicked yet, but obviously we'll see how they fare. Home against BYU Wednesday and then at Houston Saturday. Huge week for Houston. They play at Iowa State and host Arizona. Duke's going to come in at number 3 for me. Cameron Boozer's probably going to win National Player of the Year. They have a game against Michigan on Saturday. I can't wait for that game. Top 3 game. A game between 2 top 3 teams. Ridiculous stuff that we're getting that in middle of February, especially from a Big Ten and an ACC team. Those are the top 2 teams in KenPom right now as well. Both top 10 in offense and defense. Can't wait for that one. Michigan, Duke. Duke also plays Syracuse on Monday, but I'd assume they'd take care of business there. Coming off a big, pretty convincing win over Clemson. Feel like they've got to be number 3, so they're moving up 2. Number 2 is going to be Houston, moving up 1. I've been saying this when Houston was ranked like 7, 8, 9 for me. I've been saying Houston might just be the team that I picked to win it all. They were my team that I picked to win it all in the preseason. And here we are. Houston is up to number 4 in KenPom. Every week I feel like they get higher and higher. They're 12th in offense, 5th in defense. Like I said, I mean, these numbers just keep getting better and better. They're probably now going to be a 1 seed, so they're going to have a more favorable path. Houston has a ridiculous 3-game stretch, I will say, though. Tonight they play at Iowa State, 2.5-point underdogs. Then Saturday they host Arizona, and then they got to come back Monday, 2 days later, and go on the road to Allen Fieldhouse to play Kansas. If Houston wins 2 of those 3 games, I mean, they could very well win all 3. I wouldn't be shocked. Kingston Flemings is ridiculous. Emmanuel Sharp, Milos Uzan, Chris Senac, Jojo Tugler. So many good guards on this team. Houston is perfectly fit, well-equipped to win it all. I think Kelvin Sampson could do it. This might be his year. He was 1 possession away from doing it last year. This could be the year for him to do it. But the number 1 team, unquestioned, has to be Michigan. It just has to be. They're the only Power 5 team to not have 2 losses. They only have 1 loss, 24-1. They are top 5 in offense and defense in KenPom. They're the only team to do that, to have that accomplishment. They're number 1 in defense right now, number 4 in offense. And you watch them play, they're just ridiculous. They have 10 wins this season by 30 points or more. That is ridiculous stuff. That's almost a record. I think the record is Ohio State in the 90s. They had 11 30-plus point wins. So Michigan could very well beat that. I don't think they'll do it this week, though. They have a game tomorrow at Purdue, and then Saturday they play Duke. 2 top 10 teams they're playing. One of them top 3 this week. Cannot wait to see what Michigan has in store. Michigan, by the way, not just this week. Their other 4 games they have to close out their regular season. Minnesota, who's a pretty solid team, actually, if you watch them play. At Illinois, at Iowa, and then closing out home against Michigan State. So, kind of same thing with Arizona. Like, if you have any questions about Michigan, just watch this last few weeks of college basketball. Watch this little stretch. They've got a gauntlet ahead of them, and I can't wait to see. But they are, like, clearly the best KenPom team. They're getting, like, historically good in net rating in KenPom. Right now, they are plus 38.66. Next closest team is Duke at plus 35.9. So they're almost 3 points better, which is insane. So Michigan has been the number 1 KenPom team for a while, but now they are the number 1 team in my rankings once again. That is going to do it, though, for the Week 16 Power 40 College Basketball Rankings video. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you go down there, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Turn on the noties to make sure you don't miss whenever we upload. Like I said, we've got these every single Monday. When college football and NFL season's happening, we do that every Tuesday and Wednesday. And then NBA videos every Thursday. We're sticking with that because obviously the NBA season. MLB season just around the corner. We're going to start with videos on that very shortly. So yeah, if any of that interests you, again, make sure you subscribe. But that is going to do it. Thank you so much for watching. And I will see you guys on Thursday with another episode of NBA Playoff Watch.